My name is Lee Kim. I'm Senior Principal of Cybersecurity and Privacy at HIMSS, the Healthcare Information Management Systems Society.
It's great to see you again, Lee, and 2 years in a row. So doing a conversation here at HIMSS. We spoke last year in Orlando. I was going to say a lot's changed in the last 12 months, but there's things that have changed and things that remain the same as well. Your lens very much around the cybersecurity side when it comes to HIMSS. I'd love to get your take on what you've seen in the cybersecurity space over the last 12 months since we last spoke.
What I've seen is ever more increasing velocity of data. Artificial intelligence, of course, is fueling that, as we know. I've seen a lot more reliance, of course, on third parties and, of course, the fragility, as we know, around that with incidents that occur. And last but not least, I've seen an increasing whirl of scams.
We're not sure, the concept of scams is definitely not new.
No.
And are you seeing that there's just a sheer increase in the volume of them or increase in the complexity or the nuance of them, or a little bit of everything?
Everything.
Right.
So, you want me to break it down?
Tell me more.
Let's break it down.
Yeah.
So, as an example, let's say I'm a bad person. Am I a bad person?
You're not a bad person.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's pretend.
Yes, let's pretend. Let's pretend that I know nothing, for example, about the Chinese language, which I don't. But I wanted to phish someone in China. I can simply pop open my favorite LLM and just simply ask it, translate this into everyday Chinese language, and it will likely be able to convert what I wrote in English, because I'm an English native speaker, into Chinese. And of course, if I were to feed that and cross-check that into, let's say, a Google or some other search engine, you could cross-check that just to make sure it's not saying any mumbo-jumbo. Then you can try to phish someone based on what you can find out about them and what you can scrape off of their company website, off of their social media and everything else. So That's how that fun is.
I wonder sometimes, with the increasing velocity, the how easy it is to do more and more convincing scams, and there's a range of different examples that could be shocking at how realistic they are. And you can understand how people may, click that link and add in information because it looks like it's the incorrect thing. The right thing, but they've done the wrong thing. And as we know, and I'm sure we talked about, but it's also just generally in healthcare, is that it's not too often that there's serious nefarious stuff going on, people intentionally doing the wrong thing that then cause breaches. It's often when people let the guard down or that there's basic kind of hygiene that hasn't taken place. I sometimes think, because every cybersecurity thing I go to, except for your thing that I went to earlier, that was different. That was cool. But so often we go to them and it's make sure you got multi-factor authentication.
Right.
Make sure you change your passwords. It's the same stuff. If we keep talking about the same stuff, but it keeps happening, is this just, we're just going to have to keep doing this for the rest of our life? How do we, is there any, it's not like there's anything new in cybersecurity, but how do we keep it fresh front of mind to people? Because I feel like there's a fair bit of lethargy that can go on as well too. It's
right.
Yeah, I know, but then this stuff keeps happening.
But I have to say, there are new tools that are happening, and there are new means for securing your systems. As an example, you had mentioned passwords. Aren't you frustrated with passwords? I'm frustrated with passwords.
Yeah.
I mean, how many of us have encountered things like password lists, like
Sure.
rockyou.txt and everything else?
Yeah.
I mean, that frequently used passwords, if your password is a common word or whatever, it could easily be cracked. I don't care if the 4 looks like another letter or something else. There are algorithms and programs to crack that right away. So the bottom line is we are now in a day and age where you can use mobile authenticator apps. You can use FIDO, U2F, hard keys to, essentially authenticate. And what we know about multi-factor authentication now in the day and age of AI and other threats is that you really have to do away with those passwords and ensure that both of your factors are secure, because your multi-factor auth is only as secure as each of your credentials, or each of your factors, I should say more specifically. So that has changed. Department of Homeland Security, at least in the States, they started to say you need to have phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication. They've been saying this, I would say, in the last 3 to 5 years. NIST has said similar things about multi-factor authentication. And now with AI, with deepfakes and all those ugly things that are happening, no longer is, for example, a voice call to your phone to say, here's your code or text message safe because, well, you have malware and other things that could eavesdrop. So there's that. So you need to definitely keep up with technology to fight technology and also bad threat actors to, essentially stay ahead. But the other thing that's happening too is the reason why these same darn mistakes keep on happening, whether it's in terms of social engineering or otherwise, is now reveal something maybe I shouldn't reveal, but I'll do it anyway. I'll be risky. Back in the day, I was, and I'm still a licensed attorney, so take it as real, folks. So back in the day, I was in private practice as an attorney.
Yes.
And I had one client who they had a bad breach, and we consulted with them. I said, what happened, da-da-da. And I said, here's how you can improve your cyber defenses and your training. And so I did that. And then 2 weeks later, they got breached again because they just simply did not improve anything. They didn't want to do the post-mortem analysis. They didn't do tabletops to test their defenses and see what kind of security tools they need in place. So you don't want to be like that client. No. They were a nice client. They were nice people, but being nice doesn't assure you any safety.
Yeah, no, and especially in such a high stakes industry, where it's on the any professional services like legal, but financial, but especially healthcare is, once that data is out, you can't replace, if your bank account is breached, you can replace money, but if your genomic sequence data is out there, it's kind of always out there now. So it's always high stakes. One thing I think about is in this world where we have increasing rate of innovation, a lot of cool new tools that need to be much more interoperable with each other. The real world of using a lot of these tools is that if you're dealing with a large enterprise that has a lot of security protocols around, they're doing all the right things to make sure everything is multi-factor authenticated out of every orifice, then you go to use tools that connect, and then they don't seem to connect because all the security is trying to stop it from connecting.
That's true.
So, and then people are like, oh, we'll just turn this off, or like, oh, we won't use that tool. So where do you find that balance of, as we've got more and more tools that keep everything super locked out,
right?
But we want to use all this cool, exciting, and I'm not even talking about, publicly, like, LLMs that are using publicly available, all the basic stuff. It's the practicalities on a day-to-day of whether you're in a clinic or you're aware of the real world often means that if we lock everything down, we're not doing it like it's out of the box, which means then from a developer side, the tool's not being used as it should be from their perspective.
Right. Yeah. So here's some wisdom, I guess, in that regard, and that is even if you were to buy hundreds of millions of dollars in security tools, the best, the most bright and shiny objects, as it were, in terms of technology and security, it won't save you unless you actually take the time to configure it well and properly, and unless you test it, you're screwed. You are screwed. And we've seen that. We've seen organizations do that. And also the other thing is hospitals are not banks, are they?
No.
So why keep it all locked up like Fort Knox?
Yeah.
We need the information. The information is the lifeblood of the organization. If a patient is in emergency care and they're facing possibly death, might go through 100 locks to get access to that data.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're a new healthcare CISO that's maybe from finance, you might not necessarily understand that we're focused more on the availability of the CIA triad, not necessarily confidentiality. In finance, they have 6+ federal agencies, at least in the States, that are breathing down their neck, right? And each time there's a breach, it gets more difficult and more difficult. And that scenario you had described is absolutely the case. Although I could tell you that for various reasons, financial sector, sometimes it's not as secure as we think it is. It's another story for another time. But notwithstanding that, in terms of healthcare and hospitals, you need to really have a simple plan together, use things like the healthcare and public health sector cybersecurity performance goals, which we have in the States. Make sure that you're meeting those basic goals, make sure that you're meeting the essential goals, but do it as simple as possible, because otherwise your tools might be knocking each other out in the ring.
No, I love that. So earlier this week at HIMSS, I attended one of the sessions that you were participating in, and I saw there was a report, results of a survey that was completed recently. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yes. The 2024 HIMSS Healthcare Cybersecurity Survey. We've been cranking out an annual survey since about 2006. It's almost been 20 years.
Wow.
I have not been on HIMSS staff that long, only maybe 12 years.
Okay.
But that's been a while.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And they like me here, by the way. So I'll still continue to stay. All right. Notwithstanding that, all that kidding aside, the 2024 HIMSS Healthcare Cybersecurity Survey takes a look at everything from economics, budget, tabletop exercises. Are you testing actually what you're doing? And everything in terms of AI adoption, and are you securing it properly? Is there governance in place? And last but not least, you had mentioned, or you had implied, insider threat.
Yes.
That is so true. Very few people want to do harm. In healthcare, I mean, I don't mean to speak for you.
No.
I don't know you aside from this interview, just to be clear.
We met last year, Lee. Come on.
Yes, I'm sorry.
But I guess what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, so...
But regardless, what I wanted to say is that with insider threat, you never know who the bad person is.
Yes.
I'm not a bad person. But maybe you might think I'm a bad person.
No.
But notwithstanding that, anyone has the potential to go rogue and to do physical or technical damage to an organization. And if you are inside an organization where you have trusted access, boom, that's your threat. So it could be negligent or it might be malicious. And that's something that all organizations, I don't care if you're healthcare or a bank or otherwise, we all need formal policies in terms of insider threat management. We also need things like see something, say something. We've had unfortunate things in terms of people on occasion stealing information, or maybe they're disgruntled working in tech. And so they might occasionally sabotage information, but it really is something that we need to come up a level, as it were, in terms of protecting and safeguarding and having our eyes out on the lookout just to make sure there's nothing aberrational.
That's so true. Because, we're all humans in the current climate, even whatever climate it was, when put under various pressures and external environmental factors, situations change. So ensuring everything is secure at all times, regardless of how cool your team is super important. Lastly, then, Lee, looking at all of the exciting innovations, and also in cybersecurity and the cool new tools that exist, and people coming to HIMSS, that we're not short of sessions on cybersecurity and insights, and also providers with questions about it, and vendors also looking to provide solutions. Are there anything that's particularly catching your eye, or that is of most interest, or should be of the highest priority for attendees when they're looking through the lens of cybersecurity here at HIMSS?
Yes, absolutely. I can say that the sessions that focus on combining business and cybersecurity is very, very important. In fact, when Robert Herjavec was here to give a keynote on cybersecurity, as well as AI, he gave a pitch for business so that we in cybersecurity can essentially understand the business side of things, so that we in cybersecurity, if there's a ransomware attack, if there are other things, just by way of extrapolation, I'm just simply saying, we as cybersecurity professionals need to understand the world of business and economics so much more. And I think that was inherent, or at least implied in his talk, because if we understand business, we're better able to support clinical care, the business of healthcare, and also the back-end operations. And to your point, we won't lock it down like Fort Knox. There'll be that nice balance. Other sessions, though, what I personally have gone to and what I think is the most valuable, the SANS executive cybersecurity exercises are very important because you get to simulate what it is to be in a ransomware event and other kinds of cyber events that happen.
Yeah, right.
And other things relevant to, let's say, you do have a disaster. Let's say you have a flood, you have a fire. I was speaking to an Italian colleague just a few hours ago, and he had said, Lee, if there's a fire, organizations, whether in Italy or elsewhere, you know what to do. When I was in Indonesia, you know what to do when there's a tsunami. And everything is clearly marked, right?
Yeah, right.
And the thing is, in terms of cybersecurity, why can't we get there? We need to have that mindset and essentially incorporate that, and maybe even incorporate best practices from the physical world into cyber. So I would say, I would look at things that are cross-disciplinary when I look at cybersecurity, including the educational sessions here.